The top 10 moments of the F1 2021 season. Approximately 265 days, 22 races and one surprising conclusion later, the F1 2021 season is unfortunately over, and a season that most of us won't forget since history had been made and amazing moments took place. So today we'll be looking at the top 10 moments of this dramatic season. And please do me a favor, if you really enjoyed this video and all the content I upload, then hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell that I'll be uploading new videos. I'm really sorry for not uploading these days because the F1 2021 season has been amazing and has attracted me a lot, making me watch till the very end, with Max Verstappen being crowned as the world champion. So I'm really sorry for not uploading these days, but I'll definitely upload it on time next time. But if you really enjoy the content, hit the subscribe button and back to the video. Number 10. Intensive final 5 laps for the victory. The F1 2021 season is a season that nobody will forget because history had been made, but it all began in the first race in the deserts of Bahrain. Sir Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen battling for the victory in the Bahrain Grand Prix. Max Verstappen was on pole, but unfortunately, due to a good strategy by Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton went on and led the race. But with just 5 laps to go, he was already under pressure with Max Verstappen right behind him. Hamilton then still held him off and went on and won the Bahrain Grand Prix, just putting on a marker that the championship battle and F1 2021 had just begun. Number 9. The HAZARDOUS Hungarian Grand Prix start. The Hungarian Grand Prix saw 8 drivers have a terrible start to the race. Lando Norris, Verstappen, Bottas, Perez, Ricciardo, Leclerc, and Lance Stroll and Nikita Mazepin in the pit lane. Lando Norris, Verstappen and Perez had a beautiful start, unlike Valtteri Bottas, but Bottas went on and crashed on Norris, who went on and crashed Max Verstappen, and Bottas went on and crashed onto Perez, taking himself, Norris and Perez out of the race. Verstappen continuing on, but finished in 10th place in the end. Lance Stroll, who tried to get past Charles Leclerc, unfortunately took himself and Leclerc out of the race, and Leclerc spun down Daniel Ricciardo, with Ricciardo coming home even after the restart outside the points. Number 8. Battle with the protagonists. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix held their first race in the 2021 season, with Hamilton on pole ahead of Bottas and Verstappen. Hamilton led the race ahead of Bottas and Verstappen, but when Schumacher crashed into the wall, both the Mercedes drivers went into the pits and Verstappen led the race. And slowly, the race went on to Red Bull's side because the red flag had been pulled out. The next restart later, Max Verstappen led the race ahead of Esteban Ocon, who went past Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. But since Sergio Perez, Nikita Mazepin and George Russell retired, another red flag had been pulled out, with Ocon on pole and Verstappen having a chance of starting on the 3rd place. But that didn't stop him from going down the inside and taking the lead of the race ahead of Esteban Ocon. Hamilton then went on and managed to overtake Esteban Ocon and took 2nd place. But later on, when both of them were going to battle each other, Verstappen went outside the track and ended that sequence with a bigger lead, but was set to give the position back to Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton then was not informed that Verstappen had to give the position back, felt that Verstappen brake tested him and went and crashed right out to the back of the Red Bull. This was a controversial moment, but a moment that Mercedes will immediately forget, because Hamilton then later on went past Max Verstappen and took the lead of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix and won the race. Number 7. The protagonists of the championship crash and retire. The only race where both of them were seen to crash and retire at the exact same time was in the Italian Grand Prix. Max Verstappen landing on Hamilton, taking himself and Hamilton out of the race. Verstappen had a 11-second pit stop and Hamilton had half as fast pit stop and had a chance of staying ahead of Max Verstappen, but to his surprise, Verstappen was just alongside him when he came out of the pits. Verstappen then went on, tried to get past Lewis Hamilton, but then went over to turn 1 chicane, landed on top of Lewis Hamilton and took himself and Hamilton out of the race. Number 6. Pirelli brings thunder. The first race of the 2021 season where the Pirelli trials were not working was in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. The first issue was when Carlos Sainz locked up, but that was just a mere issue, but later on a terrible crash with Aston Martin's Lance Stroll due to a rear left puncher and him losing his front wing, taking him out of the race. After the restart, with just 3 laps to go to the end, Max Verstappen was leading, but due to a rear left puncher, crashed into the wall and took himself out of the race. Luckily on Red Bull's side, Perez won the race and Hamilton took himself out as well. Number 5. Norris grabs pole. For the first time in 2021 and for the first time in his career, Lando Norris was on pole position. But this wasn't very easy. He had 3 attempts to do this. In Imola, he managed to take his car into the front row. Unfortunately, due to a track violation, went on and started in 7th. In Austria, he managed to start on the front row. In Belgium, he topped Q1 and Q2, but unfortunately crashed in Q3. But Sochi was the day that Lando Norris wouldn't forget, as he got his first pole position. Number 4. George has a Williams podium. For the first time in his career and for the 50th race in his career at the same time, George Russell was on the podium. In the Belgian qualifying, Lando Norris stopped Q1 and Q2, but unfortunately crashed in Q3, giving the chance of Max Verstappen to grab pole. Russell managed to put good lap times and took his car into Q3 at the same time, and everybody were at their feet after they saw Russell top Q3 ahead of Lewis Hamilton by just 1.5 hundredths. Later on, Max Verstappen put the first lap time less than 2 minutes and started on pole, but George Russell wouldn't forget it as he managed to start on the front row ahead of Sir Lewis Hamilton. The Belgian Grand Prix unfortunately had harsh weather conditions and the race merely took place 3 laps under the safety car, and then the race had been stopped, making Max Verstappen the winner and George Russell earning his first podium in his Formula 1 career, that too for Williams Racing. Number 3. 111th Grand Prix winner. For the first time in Formula 1, Esteban Ocon became a Grand Prix winner, and this wasn't very easy at the same time. Following the Hungarian Grand Prix crash, the restart then took place, but Hamilton was on the wet tires when it was perfectly clear. 4 laps later, Hamilton was called into the pits, making Esteban Ocon lead the race ahead of Sebastian Vettel. Esteban Ocon played an amazing role, held off Sebastian Vettel till the very end, while Hamilton kept hunting down one player by the other. But Fernando Alonso then later on defended Hamilton brilliantly for over 10 laps straight, and Hamilton sooner or later just went past him and Carlos Sainz, but couldn't catch up to Sebastian Vettel and finished in P3, with Esteban Ocon being crowned as the winner of the Hungarian Grand Prix and for the first time as a Grand Prix winner. Number 2. McLaren's Monza Masterclass. The F1 2021 season had 1-2s between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, but who would even think of the first 1-2 going as a team was accomplished not by Mercedes, not by Red Bull, but in fact by McLaren. Daniel Ricciardo won the race ahead of Lando Norris. Ricciardo had an amazing sprint race masterclass and managed to start on the front row, with Bottas, who won the race, unfortunately had to go back to the end due to an engine penalty. Ricciardo then went past Max Verstappen and took the lead of the race. Later on, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton crashed, making Ricciardo lead the race ahead of Lando Norris, who then went past Charles Leclerc and took second place. It was finally the day for McLaren as Daniel Ricciardo won the race and Lando Norris finished in second, bringing McLaren's first 1-2 of the season and first 1-2 by any team at the same time. Number 1. The last lap showdown. The F1 2021 season is defined as one of the greatest seasons of all time because the entire championship was depended and defined in the final lap of the final race of the season. Max Verstappen was crowned world champion. Verstappen started on pole, but Hamilton immediately went past him and took the lead and led on from the beginning till the end of lap 53, because immediately in the exact same lap, Nicholas Latifi was onto the wall, bringing in the first safety car of the day. Max Verstappen was then called into the pits for the third time and went on for the soft tires, but there was a huge distance between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen during the safety car. Later on, the lapped cars were said to overtake the safety car between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. But who would even think of the fact that the safety car was going to be pulled in the exact same lap? So the entire championship depended on the final lap of the final race of the season, with Hamilton ahead of Max Verstappen. Verstappen was then, during the safety car, trying to get past and was almost wheel to wheel because he wanted a huge advantage of trying to get past Lewis Hamilton. But after the green flag was pulled out, Hamilton led the race. But in the hairpin, Hamilton lost the position to Max Verstappen, who went on and took the lead of the race, and at the moment would be crowned as world champion. Till the very end, Max Verstappen held on Lewis Hamilton to the line, and Max Verstappen crossed to become, for the first time, a world champion after winning the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, a race and a season and a moment that he will never forget in his Formula 1 career. Thanks for watching, and hope you really enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and share this with all the F1 fans who you know. See you next time for the next video on the F1 2022 news. Until then, next time, goodbye.